When is obesity beautiful? An odd question. Never seems the obvious answer. When is heroin use chic? Never. Because obesity and dope don't affirm life. But there's a time when obesity is sexy. Go back a few thousand years when our ancestors would wake up, go spear some deer, or pull the nets in and start drying fish. Even mild obesity would be rare, and it would be a sign of prosperity. Maybe in fall people would try to pack on some extra pounds, but this probably meant that a 100-pound woman bulked up to 110 pounds. People back then may have sculpted totems of obese women as a symbol of wealth that was never or rarely achieved. It's not easy getting fat without eating processed foods. Back then, tribes occasionally starved to death over a particularly harsh winter. It helped to weed out the tribes who didn't have the foresight to plan ahead. So really, having a chubby wife was a sign of a successful high IQ tribe. Now, don't get me wrong, if you get married, have a bunch of great kids, by the time you're in your 50s and your grandparents, you've probably put on a few pounds. You don't love your spouse any less because they don't fit into their wedding costume, but you wouldn't describe your chubby 50-year-old spouse as beautiful. They were beautiful when they were 18, when they were slim and fresh. The human conception of beauty is tied to fertility, health, and symmetry. In Gogor, when the morbidly obese woman says, "Beauty comes in different shapes and whatever," she is lying. Let's examine this. What would your response be if a morbidly obese man made that comment? A morbidly obese person is never beautiful. She may have many fine qualities, but beauty isn't one of them. A beautiful woman is slim, young, fertile, healthy. She's young enough to have several children, and she is healthy enough to take care of them for decades. For most of human history, life was active. Men might go out trapping, hunting, or fishing, while women gathered or farmed or dried fish and built and repaired the nets. Humans might walk miles during the course of a day. So for millions of years, humans were slim, healthy, and active. The obese woman in Gogor can't walk miles. She can't even care for half a dozen kids. She can't pull her weight in the family and in the tribe. She is a burden on the tribe. She can't perform the duties expected of a young lady. Now, if we are to believe her that beauty comes in many forms, then you are fundamentally changing the definition of beauty. Even to make a statement like that is silly. Well, she says, take any piece of your choosing, your most kind, somebody to pick from. Yes, beauty comes in many forms. Why are there oranges all over the floor? There are piles of oranges, piles of oranges, piles of oranges. That doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't you pick those oranges up? Are those piles of more oranges in the corner? Why wouldn't you just pick those up and put those back in the thing? It doesn't seems kind of. That's the musician. That's the fruit picker, and she likes to paint. And that's I don't know, some weird dude. Just sitting back playing guitar. Beauty comes in many forms. The individual defines beauty for themselves, and beauty usually falls in line with biological drives. Imagine if obese men got on social media and said that they are the new standard of male beauty. People would laugh their asses off. Nowadays, obesity is not a sign of wealth. Indeed, the opposite of true. If you are slim and in your 40s, you're more likely to be wealthy than if you are fat and slovenly. It's kind of ironic because the cheapest diet of beans, rice, and vegetables is also the healthiest. Oh, another thing of this, I'm sure everyone has at one time taken a pottery class or borrowed their friend's wheel. And the way this type of pottery works is you're on a wheel. So I don't know if she has some foot-operated electric. This is some kind of electric wheel. I don't know how advanced this universe is, but that's not really what a wheel looks like. A wheel is a pretty good-sized thing. It works on a momentum. It's a big, heavy wheel. Oh, you know what? Maybe there's a motor in the back. So maybe this is some sort of electric wheel. It just seems kind of weird because it's not what a wheel. That's not what I remember a wheel looking like from a pottery class. Why are there oranges and orange peels all over the ground? Are they really that short of citrus? Is vitamin C that critical to these people? Apparently it is. But this is a good comic. It's a real comic. It's not. It definitely looks professionally done. Even though that one scene is kind of silly, Billy. Beauty comes in all forms. She's going to have to wear 3 sports bras to strain those puppies in. Anyway, why did the author include this woke element in the story? Because of that sweet dopamine hit from virtue signaling. All the characters are different races and even species, which is weird when you think about it. If you have 2 races that start mixing, after a few generations, the people are mixed. The distinguishing features that created the unique diversity is lost. Kind of reminds me of the Dark Tower film, when they visited a town with Africans and Asians, but we just happened to stumble across the town as they started to mix. Suspiciously odd timing. Anyway, the creator of Gogor didn't respond well to criticism. Overall, the story was fine. It's just that this one moment seemed so silly. When the gay lord himself, Real Kabir, mildly and gently and lovingly criticized this comic book, the creator of the comic, Ken Garing, interesting cropping there. Here's the actual scene where the topic of beauty concerns ceramic water bottles. Well, it's an obvious analogy, simile. I don't know. To the human form, obviously. Come on. And then I guess he made a bunch of other spurg out tweets and then deleted them. I'm not Tyler says, bro, you sound like Kwanza. We love comics. Learn to take some criticism. And yeah, overall, the comic is pretty good. Kind of a kid's comic, but it's well done. It feels like it's professionally done. And then one of the anti-Comicsgaters, he niece of Lucifer. I didn't know refusing to jerk off is what actually makes you blind. Rest in peace to Water Closet. I have no idea what you're talking about. Stay mad while I read a real comic. Okay. And then he comes back. No, I don't want to join Twitter. Twitter is cancerous. Yes, that sure is a real comic. If you all had real jobs in the industry and hadn't burned all their bridges being a-holes to people, you too could have real comics. Personally, I'm reading this right now. Humanoids. Is that by Mark Waid? I don't even want to click. Burned all their bridges being a-holes. All the people in Comicsgate didn't burn any bridges. They have the wrong politics. The Comicsgate crowd is either moderates, maybe slightly left of center, slightly right of center, or right of center, but they were never going to get hired in comics, mainstream comics anyway. They didn't burn any bridges. Those bridges were blown up by the SJWs who have power in comics. SJWs infiltrate an industry, any industry. They gain control of it, and then they hire who they wish. That's another topic of a video. And it says, I'm not telling. It says, cool. I don't want a job in the industry. My buddy does. My buddy's working in it though. Check his book out when you get a chance. First of many more. Now this is interesting. This book, Vestige, is by this guy Gat Hanzo and some others. Vestige #1 graphic novel. It is on Indiegogo. I don't remember how much money it's made, but it's definitely made its funding back. It's done very well for forgive me, but relative newcomers. I won't say nobodies because they're obviously talented artists, but they're newcomers to an industry and they don't have mainstream support, and they managed to get their book funded. That's an amazing accomplishment. Anyway, this little douche canoe says self-publishing is the self-publishing industry. I don't know what you mean by that. Also, is 800 people when the person has 200 followers supposed to look impressive and not incredibly sad? I guess Vestige must have 800 backers. I'll check it out, but that is amazing. You're not making the point you seem to be making. Also, is 800 people and the person has 2,000 followers. Yes, that's freaking amazing. What is that, 40%? Yes, that's 400 out of 1,000. It's 40%. That is amazing. How is that anything but an incredible accomplishment? These Vestige people should be very, very proud of themselves. He says, I'm not sad about it. And they go on for 46 more replies, just snipping at each other back and forth. Here's the thing. These Vestige comics got funded, and people are kind of loosely comparing it to Deadbeats, which has 45 artists and creators, artists and writers on the project, and Deadbeats is at 33,000. So yes, it got funded, but it's not blowing anyone's doors off. And Kwanza's book, his first book, Black AF, did very well. I think it did $100,000. So congratulations to Kwanza. That's an amazing accomplishment. No matter what side of the political aisle you sit on, $100,000 for a comic is very, very good. But Kwanza Osojefo had every possible break. He had every possible privilege. If you search his name in Black AF, it's nothing but positive mainstream reviews. The Comicsgate crowd has none of that. They don't have Bleeding Cool. They have Bleeding Fool and Bounding into Comics, and that's it. But Kwanza's second book, I think it's called White, which isn't a very creative title. It sold half that. So he's not failing upwards, he's actually failing downwards. When your first book does 100,000, your second book does 50,000, that's not very good. Anyway, Gat says, the reality that no matter how hard you wish, Comicsgate is not going anywhere, and that you're responsible for killing comic books. Like everything you SJWs touch, you can't create, so you break things like a petulant child. You know, even just the SJW campaigns you know to hear have anywhere from 200 to 500 more backers than you. You only barely passed Kwanza too, just barely squeaked it out with much less support. You are nothing and Comicsgate is nothing. Okay, you're not making the point you want to make. You're saying Vestige past Kwanza? Kwanza's at $50,000. So Vestige, created by people who have no name, zero name recognition, beat Kwanza's $50,000? That's incredible. That's the main thing, really. You're creaming your shorts because you're so happy to beat Kwanza when you have barely passed him by 2,000. Passing him at all, getting funded is amazing. Beating Kwanza is a well-known name in the industry. He has a project with Mark Wade. I'm sure is absolute cancer. That is an amazing accomplishment for this guy to beat Kwanza. Yes, you should be creaming your shorts. You should be very, very happy. You barely passed him by $2,000. He has nearly twice this physical support. You're not making the point you want to make. Gat says, I had to simply write a book people wanted to read. Easy. Not have your entire plot as identity politics. I know you can't even comprehend normie stuff. Yeah, I don't know who this guy Gat Hanzo is, but he's making a whole part of War Campaign. He's making a whole lot of sense. Way less people want to read what you created than what Ren and Kwanza created. You're not making any sense. Ren's book has 45 people on it, and it made $33,000. That's not a failure. I mean, you got funded. $33,000 is okay. And I understand you're in it for more than just profit. You're in it to get your art out there. I dig that. And it's cool. $33,000 is a hell of an accomplishment. Congratulations. But, I can't help but do the math. $33,000 and 45 people. It's not a very good project. Especially when this guy, part of War Campaign, has a book that's, I guess it must be, I'll check it out, it must be over let's take a look actually, see if this will click into us. Vestige. He is part of Rokumir's crew, and Rokumir only has like 1,000, I think he only had like 1,000 subs on YouTube when this project got started. And to get funded is just amazing. And now, a lot of times people on Indiegogo will say we need $10,000 or $15,000 to get funded. But I was hearing people talk about it, and they said really the minimum funding is, oh my gosh, $50,000. The minimum funding to actually print books out and be profitable is something like $30,000 to $40,000 before you start seeing a profit. So he has 810 backers, $50,000. That's a success. Yes, that's an amazing success. Vestige #1 graphic novel. It looks pretty good. And like you might think, well, his friends are back in it, and supporters of Comicsgate are back in it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having supporters, your friends, back it simply because if say they want to dunk on the SJWs, or they just simply figure, hey, you know what, for $35 I can support this guy. He seems like a good guy. I'm getting free entertainment when I listen to Renfamous War Campaign show. $25, but it's probably $10 shipping. So say $35. Yeah, that's fine. $35 to dunk on the SJWs and get a decent book, or just to support somebody that whose content I enjoy. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That means he'll get the first book published that way. The second book, the first book has to be a success for people to buy the second book. But this is kind of the point of being in the Comicsgate campaign, is people supporting each other. Even if the books aren't necessarily amazing, they're a start. You sell the first book, you get a lot of feedback, and hopefully you get the second book will be much improved. Anyway, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and leave a like and a comment, and check out Renfamous War Campaign on YouTube. He's a pretty funny guy.